You go to the rodeo with you, your friends, your family, whoever. I live in Aberdeen, South Dakota, where Brown County Fair is held. The very first night every single year is going to the rodeo. It's always fun, but let's say this time you go there and there's protesters from either Shark or PETA saying rodeo was wrong. I feel as a queen it is my responsibility to go ahead and educate people on rodeo and why we do what we do, because I firmly believe what we do is right. There are many misunderstandings in the sport of rodeo. Therefore, I believe there is ignorance in the sport of rodeo when it is perceived by its critics, and people need to be fully educated before they make accusations for three main reasons. All animals used are safe and not abused. It is completely professional, and this is more than just a sport. On my first point, PRCA rules and regulations forbid these actions. PRCA, or the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, is the largest organization of rodeo members that go ahead and come together to make huge rodeos like the NFR. And from their livestock rules, which are followed at every single rodeo, the PRCA has more than 60 rules to ensure the proper care and treatment of rodeo animals. Vet must be on site. All animals must be inspected and evaluated for illness, weight loss, eyesight injury, or lameness prior, and they can't compete if this is shown. Steer wrestling, which is one of the events, the wrestlers have weight limits, and specific material must be used for flank strap. Disqualifications are strictly followed if the person in charge sees a cowboy or cowgirl abusing the animals. And prods are only used when necessary and can only touch the hip or rump or shoulder. And humane transport must always be on site, and there's always tack checks. So this organization makes sure these rules are followed so animals are safe, because this is the biggest thing that people are most against is animal mistreatment. My next point, veterinary assistance was always all on hand. So if something was to go wrong, there is always somebody there. This comes from PETA. Flank or bucking strap is tightly cinched on the animal's abdomen, causes there to buck vigorously in an attempt to escape the pain. First off, this is why I say as rodeo queen we need to educate people that the flank strap goes around the flank of the animal, which if you're judging a horse or cattle, the barrel, or the abdomen they call it, it's not even near there. And in my next point, it is completely professional. This is how people make a living. Brett Hoffman on March 6th said, last year J.B. Mallory, for example, pocketed $348,000 after winning an average at the World Finals in Las Vegas, finishing second in the Ford-built Tough World title race. Which people need to understand before they jump at people for doing what we do, is this is how people make a living. And personally, I don't think anybody has the right to go ahead and tell someone you can't do that if that's how somebody's making a living. And this is a sanctioned sport which provides professional competition. And also to go along with my first point, the people who bring the cattle, which we call stock contractors, this is also how they make a living, transporting the livestock necessary for these competitions. But people like Trevor Brazil, who is so high in the world standings and is number one, this is how he makes a living. This is by having this sanctioned rodeo sport like PRCA, it allows people to come together and do something competitively under rules and regulations. In my final point, this is more than just a sport. There's historical reasoning behind every event. Robert Daniels said, in 18th century, Spanish cowboys would hold informal rodeo competitions at the end of the trails, which they would move all these livestock to places such as meatpacking plants by Swifts, and They're duties of actual working cowboys who catch and restrain calves to be branded or taken care of is part of rodeo events today. And this kind of leads us to why we still do it today. Provides competition and a sort of pageantry to our cowboy culture that the United States was built on. And these practices are still used today. According to PRCA and the definition of each event, things like team roping or tie-down roping we still use on ranches today. Imagine there's a sick calf out there, and instead of grouping everything together and trying to sort it, two cowboys just go out there and rope them and get them. Or in tie-down roping, they rope down, tie him up, give him what he needs, like vaccinations or branding, and then lets him go back with the herd. It's simple and efficient, and we still use these things today. So it's not just for pageantry and in competitions, it's things that we still use today, just besides rodeo. Everything that's done there is also done in daily life. In conclusion, when critics speak on rodeo, they need to understand rodeo is safe, this is professional, and most of all, this is more than just a sport. Therefore, I believe ignorance in the sport of rodeo when it is perceived by its critics, and people need to be fully educated before they make accusations. Thank you.